Well, the National Union of Metalworkers and the SA Cabin Crew Association say they're relieved the SAA business rescue process is finally over. NUMSA spokesperson Pagamila Hlube Majola joins us now. Good evening, Pagamila. Thanks very much for your time. What's been the response to your members to the news that this plan has finally been approved?
Good evening, Sally, and good evening to your viewers. As NUMSA and SAA, we are relieved indeed that we finally find ourselves here and that this business rescue process is now at an end. And more importantly, that we have actually managed to prevent liquidation, which is something that NUMSA and SAA have been fighting very hard to do. In fact, I want to take this opportunity to deal with the General Secretary from NTM, who was on your platform earlier, claiming that we were pushing for liquidation. That's a bold-faced lie. We went to court to oppose liquidation, and everything we have done has been to try and ensure that SAA is restructured. So as we sit here today, whilst we're not entirely satisfied with the plan, we are happy that we are proceeding, and we are going to now be working very hard in order to restructure the airline.
You know, Pagamila, what happens now? Because the issue of money has been, I spoke to Irvin Jim last week, and he was also concerned, as many people have been, about this 10 billion rand rescue plan. There seems to be a fair amount of confidence from the Department of Public Enterprise that the money will materialise, but we've also had some statements from National Treasury which suggest they're not going to bail out. Are you as a union very comfortable and confident that that money will materialise by the deadline, which I think is around the 22nd of July?
Well, we certainly hope so, because it would mean that everything that we've done up to this point has been in vain. We have made it very clear that we know that there are some in government who are opposed to the restructuring of SAA. That includes the DA that's coming up as a guest. They have been pushing for liquidation, and we believe that those who think that SAA should be liquidated are frankly reckless and irresponsible. SAA plays a pivotal role in creating jobs in this country. It contributes 34,000 jobs along the value chain. It contributes meaningfully to the aviation sector. Countries across the world have actually taken a decision to bail out airlines during this time, and we feel that it is important that this government should say.
Pagamila, are you still with us? Sorry, you broke up momentarily. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I was saying that we believe very strongly that SAA must be restructured and not liquidated. And this is what we've been fighting very much against. We know that Tito, for example, has been pushing for liquidation, and we certainly hope that he will work with the DPE to ensure that funding for this airline will be found, because at the end of the day, SAA contributes meaningfully to our economy. It contributes a minimum of 34,000 jobs along the value chain. And anyone who says it should not be funded is frankly being irresponsible and reckless.
All right. How is the money going to be spent? And I'm wondering if 10 billion is enough. The banks alone, they have to get their full 16 billion rand from SAA, which I understand is going to be spread out over 3 years. The retrenchment packages, I think, are just over 2 billion. How much more is it going to take to revive this airline? Because there are hopes that there's going to be a strategic partner, that although jobs will be lost, there's going to be a rebirth of SAA. Do you have an idea of how much more money it's going to take to do that?
My understanding is that government has to secure about 26 billion in total. So in terms of money will be spent, well, that will be dependent on the executives and the board that is appointed in order to implement the restructuring. One of our biggest concerns as NUMSA and SAA is the fact that Philip Saunders has been appointed as the interim CEO. We believe that this was unfortunately a step taking us back, quite frankly, because Philip Saunders is part of the very same executive management that oversaw the destruction of this airline to begin with. We have been very clear that if SAA is truly to be restructured and to be a new airline. We need a new board, not a single. We don't want a single member of the current board who is responsible for the looting and the corruption, nor do we want any of the old executives who did not lift a finger when dodgy decisions were taken and looting took place at the airline.
Right, so you've got some concerns about Philip Saunders. I'm wondering, though, as a union, how much leverage do you have left at this point? I mean, the ultimate leverage is to say we will strike, but SAA is not flying. So how much leverage do you have going forward, and what role can you play?
If you're talking about leverage, I think our track record speaks for itself. We don't just talk, we act. We have prevented the business rescue practitioners from winding down the airline. We have prevented the business rescue practitioners from unlawfully and unfairly retrenching workers through a dodgy process. We have forced the business rescue practitioners to adhere to the Companies Act. So I think we will look to whatever tools we have to ensure that the best decisions are taken in the interest of the airline. Whilst we accept that Philip Saunders is there, we accept that he's only there in the interim. What we are pushing for is that when it comes to the permanent decision around a permanent GCEO and the entire executive team and the board, that we do not want any of the people who have had any dealings with SAA in the past, because their presence at the airline is the reason why SAA is collapsing today.
Well, thank you very much for your time. That is NUMSA's spokesperson, Phakamile Hlube Majole.